Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader and tonight we'll be focusing on the fourth edition of the World Youth Forum, which was held in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh under the auspices and in the attendance of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as well as the focus tonight would be on the recommendations and the experiences of the young men and the young women who participated at the World Youth Forum from all over the world, and to be having more information about the four-day event and the fourth edition of it, despite the coronavirus pandemic and despite what is going on in the world ever since 2019. I'm honored to be having with me on the Daily Debate for tonight Mrs. Amira Said, the journalist and the participant at the World Youth Forum in its fourth edition. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
I'm super honored to be with you. Thank you
very much. We will be starting straight away with a report about the developments of the fourth edition of the World Youth Forum held under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
World Youth Forum issued its final recommendations as it wrapped up its sessions over the weekend. These recommendations included holding an international summit for global financing institutions and donors to look into the best means to help impoverished communities. The recommendations read out by the CEO of the National Training Academy, NTA, Rasha Raghib, urged the involvement of youth in climate change issues and promoting awareness about climate goals. The forum demanded establishing a business council for African ventures with the participation of young entrepreneurs and businessmen to provide funding opportunities for innovations. The World Health Organization should adopt an initiative on the mutual recognition of the coronavirus vaccination certificates. The forum also called for localizing water desalination technologies in all countries that suffer from water scarcity to produce water at a lower cost. Moreover, the recommendations stressed the need for unifying the United Nations efforts to launch a platform to guarantee the provisions of the needed funding for reconstruction. The last recommendation focused on launching an international strategy to reinforce social and humanitarian solidarity.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and as we saw in the past report, that we'll be focusing tonight on the recommendations of the World Youth Forum. But Mrs. Amira Said, I would like to start from the beginning of the World Youth Forum and not the closing sessions or the end of it. The beginning of the World Youth Forum, it spanned over 4 days, from the 10th and until the 13th in Sharm el-Sheikh. Would you tell me more about what happened on every day of the World Youth Forum?
Yeah, so due to the dazzling success of the previous 3 editions of the World Youth Forum, this edition was very special and came in critical time. We know that all countries now, they are grappling with the ramification of COVID-19. And if we are talking about youth in particular, youth have been passing through a difficult time due to the lockdown and precautionary measures. So they came back in the 4th edition with genuine zeal and towering ambition. They want to share their ideas and concerns as well. That's why the 4th edition was held under the slogan "Back Together." Before diving into details about the 4-day event and what were the discussions during these days, we have to remember that the United Nations Commission for Social Development recognized the World Youth Forum and the previous 3 editions as an international platform for youth to discuss the main topics and challenges, and it also held the main role played by the World Youth Forum in implementing the SDGs, or the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Actually, if we go back to the first day and the opening ceremony, we have seen that three speakers, keynote speakers in the opening session, they were highlighting the impact of the World Youth Forum in their life. We have seen a participant from Tunisia, for example. She said that after participating in the second edition of World Youth Forum, this gave her like a driving wheel to exert more efforts, and she managed to get, like, for example, a scholarship in Germany, and this was a milestone in her career journey. We have seen another participant called Isaac Boma, who's also managed to have a scholarship in Germany to study democracy and politics. So they were like highlighting the impact of the World Youth Forum in this life to inspire also other people. We have seen also a major session or plenary session that was attended by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, and also the Emirati Minister of Youth and Sports, and we have seen also other presidents who were participating via Zoom. We have seen many hybrid sessions in the World Youth Forum. They all stress that the whole world now, they are facing a critical time. Now we have the COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 era. Now it is a global challenge for all countries worldwide. Climate change also now, the impact of climate change have reached like alarming level, a matter that required collective actions. So we have seen there is a genuine will from Egypt, from the political leadership here in Egypt, to empower youth and engage them in the global challenges like climate change, and this was one of the main recommendations of the World Youth Forum. Throughout the 4-day event, we have seen many vital topics that were discussed, like the international experiences and the international responsibility towards water security, for example. In this panel discussion, it was attended by the Irrigation Minister, Dr. Mohammed Abdelati, who highlighted the main water challenges facing Egypt and what are the national strategy to cope up with such challenges. We have another session tackling the poverty and also the reconstruction efforts. One of the main events that were held within the framework of the World Youth Forum was the model of the United Nations Council of Human Rights, and actually the issue of human rights, it was one of the key topics that was given a top priority in this forum, especially that Egypt in this forum tried to present its vision in this file. We have seen that President Sisi stressed that when we are talking about human rights, we are talking about education, health. So every country has its own approach in dealing with this file. So this was also another important event in the World Youth Forum. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If we can speak about the World Youth Forum, as you mentioned that the United Nations has recognized the importance of having the World Youth Forum here in Egypt, especially after the coronavirus pandemic, or the post-pandemic vision of the young men and the young women to the world after the coronavirus pandemic. You've been there in Sharm el-Sheikh and you have interacted with a lot of people coming from different parts of the world. How would they see Egypt, and how would they see the world after the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah. First, young people, first they were impressed with the precautionary measures that were implemented strictly in Egypt. We have seen that, for example, on the first day, there is a robot that inaugurated the World Youth Forum, and this is we have to mention here that the World Youth Forum sent many messages in scientific security in all domains. So the youth from across the world, they were impressed that Egypt has taken a decision to organize and host the World Youth Forum, though many countries, they are still conservative in organizing conferences. So they were like, this reflects the confidence that Egypt has in organizing international events while maintaining the precautionary measures. I met the British ambassador to Egypt. He said that holding this conference in this time reflects Egypt's self-confidence and its ability to host international organizations while also maintaining the health of its participants. Egypt is also to host COP27 this November. So this year is very special for Egypt as it will witness many international events. So definitely the World Youth Forum sends out different messages, a message of peace, a message of development, and also creativity, which are the main themes of the World Youth Forum.
And And you've mentioned that someone from Tunisia, someone from Africa, they have come and they said that we participated in the second edition of the World Youth Forum and it changed my life. It changed how I see the world and the mindset. How would you see the young men and the young women who are participating for the first time in the World Youth Forum in the fourth edition? They could be more enthusiastic of having similar steps to the future, that we can see what happened to this Tunisian girl, what happened to this African man, that we can be the next model in terms of success in Germany, in democracy, in politics, in different fields.
Yeah, definitely. When I met different youth delegates in the World Youth Forum, they told me that now attending or participating in the World Youth Forum, it has become the dream of every young people in all countries worldwide. So definitely, one of the main events that were held within the framework of the forum, Inspired. In Inspired Theater, we have seen that many success stories were highlighted. We have seen many influential youth leaders from Egypt and from across the world who shared their experience in order to inspire young people. And many of these stories were attended by the First Lady, Ms. Intisar Sisi, who hailed these success stories and said that she can feel, or she saw the ambition and dreams in the eyes of those young people. So definitely, when we are talking about the future, we have to focus on, because I believe that young people, they are today's leaders, not the future leaders. So it's very important to exchange knowledge, exchange their experience and concerns as well. This is what happened. When we listen to some success stories on Inspired stage, they stress that their career journey was not that rosy, or they have like passing through many challenges, but they have managed to overcome all these challenges because they have a genuine zeal, a genuine enthusiasm to reach their dreams. So they were role models for other participants and one of the participants told me that next year I want to be on this stage. I want to like change my this
I want
event.
to succeed and tell my story.
Yeah. He said that this event was a turning point in my life, and he heard a lot about the World Youth Forum, but when he came, he found that the event was beyond his expectations. I think that the World Youth Forum now, all youth, they believe that this forum belongs to them. This is not an Egyptian youth platform. No, this is belong to all of youth. They wanted to come and actively participate in the upcoming editions.
Yes, one of the main slogans for the fourth edition of the World Youth Forum, as you mentioned, is back together. We are back together, and Egypt is bringing people back together despite what is happening in different countries due to the precautionary measures against the coronavirus pandemic. How can this change the idea of Egypt to the world, change how the people see Egypt now, the future of Egypt and the young men and the young women of Egypt, especially in Sharm el-Sheikh, because you've mentioned that the COP27 as well in November will be in Sharm el-Sheikh as well. So they see different parts of the country. It's not just about the pyramids, the Sphinx, the touristic sites. We have other things. We have other aspects for Egypt as well now.
Yeah, definitely. The fourth edition in particular, it was rich and diverse in its content. And actually, President Sisi said that despite that the fact that COVID-19 is a global challenge, but there is also, we can say, a blessing in every, we can say, in every challenge or every global crisis, a matter that requires collective actions toward this fight. Also, we have seen that the First Lady said that what unites us is much bigger than what separates us. Yeah. As you mentioned that the World Youth Forum was inclusive. We have seen youth delegates from, for example, from Ethiopia. We have seen delegates from different countries worldwide. This also sends a message that Egypt, when Egypt is trying to tackle a certain challenge like climate change, or we are talking about post-COVID-19 era, Egypt is trying to deal with these challenges from a broader and holistic perspectives in order to reach swift solutions. Now Egypt is not talking about its problem, but it's trying to offer also a helping hand to other countries, and this is very important. That's why Egypt is gonna host COP27. It will be the first Arab and African country to host this conference. All these events reflect the world's confidence in Egypt, especially that Egypt has been making strides in different domains. We are talking about renewable energy, youth empowerment, different domains. So the world as well believes that Egypt can do more for other countries.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And this brings me to the recommendations of the World Youth Forum. President Sisi mentioned that Yes, we do have recommendations, but we need to be implementing them. How did you see the recommendations themselves of the World Youth Forum and the possibility of implementing them as soon as possible?
Yeah, before highlighting the recommendation of this, the fourth edition, we have to mention that what gives credibility to this forum is every year the recommendations are being implemented. We have seen many tangible results on real ground. The World Youth Forum itself was an idea that was proposed in one of the national youth conferences here in Egypt, and then this dream turned into a reality. Also, in the previous editions, we have seen many recommendations that have been implemented on the real ground. So this reflects the political leadership seriousness in empowering youth, listening to their concerns, and also to implement their ideas. If we are talking about the recommendations of the fourth edition, the first recommendation was calling for holding a global summit for financial institutions and donors in order to support the countries that suffer from poverty. And actually, this was one of the main sessions in the World Youth Forum that tackled the multidimensional poverty. And in this session, the planning minister Hala El Said defined poverty. She said that in the past, when we are measuring poverty, we are measuring poverty according to the salaries of citizens. But now there are many indicators. Yeah, there are multidimensional poverty in terms of education, health, and other basic services for citizens. And actually, Egypt has made strides in this field. So it's very important to call for international organizations to exert more efforts in order to help other countries, especially as a specialist said in this forum, that COVID-19, it has led to a new category of poverty. Many people that now are suffering from poverty due to the ramifications and repercussions of COVID-19. So all these consequences required a collective actions from all countries worldwide. One of the main also recommendations is also the engagement of youth in the issue of climate change. And here I would like to mention that President Sisi stressed that the participation of youth in such a global challenges in climate change, for example, is one of the main success factors of any event in order to reach more practical solutions. So this was also one of the main important recommendations. And this recommendation, especially about climate change, is based on a main session that was attended by the Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, who highlighted the current situation of climate change and its impact in Egypt and all countries worldwide. If we remember that Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, he said that in the last 15 years, when the experts started to, like we can say, ring alarm bells that there is a climate change, we feel that no, it will not be that alarming. But now we have realized that the better reality that now the climate change, every single minute counts. So all countries should bear their responsibility. Also, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli said, though Egypt is one of the countries that have few contribution to the global emissions, Egypt has bear its responsibility in order to curb these emissions. So it's very important also to engage youth in such important files to create a link between them and the decision makers, and this is one of the key messages of the World Youth Forum. One of the main recommendations also was calling on the World Health Organization to recognize the mutual recognition of vaccine certificates. For example, in the model United Nations of the Council of Human Rights, they discussed the unfair distribution of vaccines. So they realized the need to, and this part and parcel of the human rights file, offering vaccines and ensuring the fair distribution of such vaccines is part and parcel of the human rights file. So that's why one of the recommendations focused on this important file. Another important issue also, or recommendation, tackled the desalination of seawater in order to provide other countries that suffer from the impact of climate change and water challenge with water at lower cost and also adequate quality. Because when we are talking about water security, we are talking about water quality and quantity as well. We are not just talking about water quantity. One of the main important also recommendation was organizing or forming a business council for African projects that bring together both the young entrepreneurs and also the businessmen. Definitely now the entrepreneurship has become like a part and parcel of the national economies, and such global challenges has prompted youth to like find we can say to think out of the box, to find more practical solutions to this problem. So this also will be one of the main steps that we'll be taking in the upcoming period. And actually, I think today the Immigration Minister, Dr. Nabila Makram, started to meet some African entrepreneurs and also businessmen in order to implement this recommendation. There is also another recommendation calling for creating a national strategy to ensure the human solidarity. So we have seen that all these recommendations tackle the main sessions, and I think that they will be translated into major projects and initiatives in the upcoming period.
Yes, those were the main recommendations and the main sessions and discussions that took place over the 4 days of the World Youth Forum, especially in the attendance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. But I would like to focus on climate change, because he said that every minute counts, every day counts nowadays. You said that in the past we used to have the idea of climate change that could be, there's something bad could be happening in 2050, for example.
Yep.
So it needs awareness. Do the people and the young men and the young women and the youths from all over the world, do they have the same idea about climate change now?
Yeah, let me say that previously people think that when we are talking about climate change, they feel that no, it is like an elite issue. The people, they believe that it doesn't have like a direct impact on their daily life. When you ask anyone in the street, for example, what do you know about climate change? He's, no, tell me about, like, for example, increasing prices, terrorism, or such important files, because they do not feel that climate change can have a direct impact on their daily life. But now I can say that now it is at the heart of the concern, especially of young people who feel that, and we have seen that the U.S. Special Envoy for climate, John Kerry, said that now young people, they are frustrated because of climate change, and we share such a frustration with young people. But we have to now, when we are talking about climate change, we have to talk about adaptation and also offering the required finance to cope up with such impacts. Frankly speaking, now, for example, Africa is the most vulnerable for the impacts of climate change, but it is the least equipped to cope up with such challenges. So now, COP27, which I call Africa's COP, it will help to put legal framework and also to seek for a new mechanism to implement Paris Agreement 2015, also find new mechanisms for financing. For example, we have seen that developed countries, they pledged to jointly mobilize $100 billion for developing countries, but they couldn't meet this pledge, and Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said that this issue will be discussed in COP27, especially that major countries, they have withdrawn from this agreement, but now they are back. So this will help to further accelerate or speed up work on the implementation process of Paris Agreement to hold the temperature to 1.5 temperature. Yeah.
Yes. We've had hundreds and thousands of people coming from all over the world, young men and young women, and they are preparing themselves for the future. They are preparing themselves to be dealing day in and day out with the political figures of Egypt and of the world as well. How did the World Youth Forum succeed in doing that, in having the connection between the officials, the governments, and the youths from all over the world, to be preparing them for leadership in the future, to be preparing them for being a part of a government in the respective countries?
Yeah, definitely. I personally believe that such a spontaneous face-to-face meetings, it helps to lay foundation for constructive dialogue, and also lay foundation towards or lay vision towards our common future. So in the World Youth Forum, we have seen many youth figures or influential youth leaders. They are sharing panels with presidents, with ministers and senior decision makers. They are not just, we can say, the they are not like present to mention that there are young people in the World Youth Forum. No, they are sharing panels, they are expressing their opinions freely, they are expressing their concerns as well, and that's why we have seen many recommendations came out with those young people. Also, if you are talking about empowering youth, first, we have also to qualify them to be the future leaders, and that's why Egypt has organized many training programs, not only for Egyptian youth, but also for African youth leaders. For example, the African Presidential Leadership Program, and we have seen in the graduation ceremony of the National Training Program graduates, there were many participants from Africa who graduated from the National Training Academy. This also reflects Egypt's recognition of the role of youth in policy making process, and also that Egypt believes that we are not talking about the Egyptian youth. It's very important also to offer helping hand to African countries to help them benefit from the experience of Egypt. Yeah.
Yes. How do they see the impact of the COVID-19 on the world and on the respective countries, the post-COVID world, the impact of what happened? Do they see that we will be having more robots, as we had in Sharm el-Sheikh? How can they say we can see the future now following the COVID-19?
Yeah, we have to admit that we haven't passed the COVID-19. We are still in the heart of the problem.
Yes.
So people came to share their concerns, as I told you. They started to share their experience during the lockdown, how they spent the lockdown days. So, for example, as you mentioned, whenever we are talking about a problem, I think that this leads to more solutions. And this is, we have seen, there is always a glimpse of hope. Even when we are passing through darkest time, always young people give us a glimpse of hope. And actually, whoever attended the World Youth Forum, he can tell you that I came back with a great positive energy. We have seen young people, they are trying to find more solutions, how to, for example, to curb the emissions, how to help people overcome COVID-19 repercussions. For example, one of the success stories that were highlighted in an inspired theater was the Egyptian engineer Mahmoud El-Komi, who invented a robot called Kira that can carry out the test and take PCR. He also invented another robot that can produce or generate water from air in order to tackle the problem of water shortage. So we have seen that young people still have more ideas and more power to face all these global challenges, but they also need the experience of bigger or older generations and senior decision makers. Such harmony, it will help us to pass through such global challenges.
Yes, one of the main discussions that took place during the World Youth Forum was about human rights. How did the people coming from all over the world, the young men and the young women, see the vision of human rights, especially being told by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi? I think at the last session of the World Youth Forum, he said that we need food, we need money, we need housing, we need clean water, we need clean energy for the people living in Egypt, and we are doing our best. It's not just about the freedom of opinion and demonstrating every day on the streets. The human rights is a general idea that we are implementing here in Egypt. How did the other people coming from different countries see that vision?
Yeah, definitely there are two main sessions or events that tackle the issue of human rights. The simulation of the United Nations Council of Human Rights, and also President Sisi meeting with foreign media. And actually this file was highlighted in these two sessions. In these two sessions, Egypt tried to present its vision regarding this file. President Sisi said that Egypt has its own approach in dealing with human rights in accordance with its situation and its challenges as well. President Sisi said that when we are talking about providing adequate health services for citizens, this is a human right. When we are talking about providing vaccines for citizens, this is also human right. Offering good education services, this is also human rights. So the human rights is not just limited to the freedom of expression. We have different aspects of human rights, and this was important for other people to come and see what is happening on real ground. For example, Decent Life Initiative is a striking example that Egypt is giving a top priority to the file of human rights. This initiative targets to improve the life of 60 million people living in Egypt. When we are talking about decent life, we are not talking about just improving or developing houses. We are talking about developing education, health services, and all aspects of life of those people. So I think that many important messages has been sent out during this forum regarding human rights fight. We have also the president of the National Council of Human Rights, Mushira Khattab. She also delivered a very important speech when she said that Egypt has its own vision regarding human rights. Egypt now is making strides in this file, and President Sisi opened a channel for dialogue with also foreign media, because many questions have been like focusing on this file in particular. And as I told
and
you,
from a certain aspect.
Yeah, from a certain aspect, definitely. But now when we are talking about human rights, we have to deal with it from, we can say, a comprehensive perspective. We have to talk about education. We have to talk about health. We have to talk about vaccines. For example, if you're talking about the issue of refugees, Egypt is now like offering good services for all refugees living here in Egypt.
Millions of people.
We haven't seen, for example, camps or centers for refugees. No, now they are engaging in society. They have access to education, to health services. This is human rights, and actually I think that Egypt has successfully presented its vision within the framework of the World Youth Forum.
And before going to the next report of the daily debate for tonight, the digital transformation, how did the youths from all over the world come and see the new republic of Egypt, that we are entering a new era of digital transformation for the Egyptians living here? We can see in the financial transactions, dealing with the banks, dealing with the with any other governmental institutions. How did he see the change now?
Yeah, as I told you, there is a robot that inaugurated the World Youth Forum, and also there was a main session tackling the digital transformation in post-COVID-19 era that was attended by Minister of Communication. And in this session, Egypt highlighted its national strategy to switch to digital transformation. Now we have seen many government services that have been digitized. Also, we have many initiatives that targeting like empowering young people and giving them a chance to master the required skill to meet the demands of the new market. Now, due to the digital transformation, many job opportunities will disappear, but there were also many job opportunities that will be created. So we have to empower and qualify young people to meet the requirement of labor market. Egypt also, if we are talking about the digitizing of economic file, we have seen now the digitization, for example, of the tax system. We have seen that Egypt has taken many steps in this file.
Yes, and from the digital transformation to the future of energy, and more specifically the future of clean energy here in Egypt, as in the upcoming report we'll be focusing on the statements made by the Minister of Environment, Dr. Yasmin Fuad, on the recommendations of the World Youth Forum on the environment. So let's see them.
Environment Minister Yasmin Fuad underlined the importance of recommendations of the World Youth Forum regarding climate change. She said that the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, can greatly build on these recommendations. She voiced hope that COP27 would achieve its goals with regards to helping countries, especially developing countries. She referred to the efforts exerted by the Environment Ministry to confront climate change, topped by establishing the National Council for Climate Change under the Premier. She noted that the conferences agreed that climate change became a pressing issue that need an urgent international action to face the challenges of the coming period.
Welcome back. You're still watching the daily debate. Mrs. Amira Sayed, the future of energy in general in the world and the future of energy here specifically in Egypt, how do you think it would be changing? Because we see every day a new step towards moving cars with electricity, for example, the gas to be turning to gas instead of gasoline and petrol. So how do you see the changes? Because we as Egyptians, we can see them every day, but what about the people coming for 4 days in Sharm el-Sheikh? Did they get the idea that we are turning a new page, we are heading into a new phase, specifically relating to the new energy or the future of energy, clean energy?
Yeah, definitely. Now turning to green energy, it has become inevitable. Now, in light of the severe impacts of climate change, we have for the first time ever, we have seen many wildfires in other countries. We have seen now, for example, in Antarctica, there is we have seen that melting ice now that has reached alarming levels. Also, every minute, as I mentioned, that the Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, said that every single minute counts now. So turning to or switching to green energy, it has become inevitable. And we have seen that John Kerry, the U.S. Special Envoy for Climate, he said that now 65% of the global GDP will be directed to curb the emissions of emissions in order to abide by Paris Agreement. He said this requires a private-public smart partnership because people may fear, or private sector may be afraid of such a transformation towards green energy. But he said that there is a great economic potential in this aspect. As you mentioned now, for example, replacing old vehicles with a new one that are or operate by natural gas or electricity. This is also we have seen that there is a great economic potential in this field. Also, setting up plants to generate power, solar power, for example. Also, it can have many economic profits. So now the whole world they are trying to, we can say, to grapple with the impacts of climate change. Now it hasn't become an option. Now all countries, they must take more steps in order to curb the emission by switching to green energy. If we are highlighting the national strategy of Egypt, we have seen that Egypt was the first country to issue, for example, the green bonds in the Middle East. This reflects Egypt's seriousness in this field. We have also, Egypt has its National Council for Climate Change to draw the required plans to combat and adapt to the climate change. We have seen many great projects. If we are talking about renewable energy, we can say that Egypt is now pioneer in hydropower. Egypt is pioneer and also wind power. If we are talking about solar power, Egypt now has the biggest solar power plant, which has been banned in Aswan, which is the largest of its kind in the Middle East and Africa. So this event provides a platform for Egypt to first to highlight its local efforts and also to give a chance to other countries to listen to the concerns of developing countries in this field. We have seen also Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli said also Egypt has allocated a certain budget to, for example, to clean up lakes in order to also to make the best use of it. Also, Egypt has its national strategy to rationalize the consumption of water, as now also climate change has a direct impact on water security. And also we have listened to, for example, the speeches of the Secretary General of the United Nations and also the U.S. Special Envoy of the U.S. They all confirmed that they have a genuine will to work together in order to combat the impacts of climate change. But they also called upon the private sector to exert more effort to invest in green energy. And I think that COP27 will be a golden chance for Egypt to open a channel for more green investment, not only for Egypt, but for Africa in general.
Yes, before the start of the World Youth Forum on the 10th of January, on the 8th and the 9th, there were workshops as well. What is the importance of having workshops to be preceding the World Youth Forum, and the participants, what were the experiences that they gained?
Yeah, the workshops that they were held as pre-events of the World Youth Forum, they tackled also many important topics. For example, one of the workshops, they tackled Africa's future in post-pandemic era, and actually this session was attended by the African Union Legal Counsel, Dr. Amira. Dr. Amira in this session said that Africa is trying to grapple with the ramifications of COVID-19. She said that the economic development definitely has been negatively impacted by COVID-19. She also said that Africa is suffering from the issue of vaccination distribution, so this requires also a collective action to ensure fair distribution. For example, also Dr. Namila said that At the beginning of the the emergence of COVID-19, the African Union recognized that there are 3 countries that can implement or have PCR tests: Egypt, Senegal, and South Africa. So there was a major challenge to helping other African countries with PCR kits, for example, and other required medicines. One of the main also workshops that were held before the inauguration of the World Youth Forum, the water policies towards ensuring water security, and also this session tackled the water policy, the required water policies in order to ensure water security. And this session, for example, was also attended by the President of the World Youth Parliament for water. And it's very important to listen to youth. When we are talking about water challenge, youth, they are bearing the brunt of such global challenges, so they must be engaged and they must have a vital role in these issues. So I think that these workshops were very important, and we have seen a positive interaction between young people from across the world.
Yes, exactly. Mrs. Amira As-Sayed, the journalist and the participant at the World Youth Forum, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
I'm super honored to be with you. Thank you.
Anytime. And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.